Hello and welcome to a short video presentation on Vanit Property Asset Management's online management system. Well, first of all, who are Vanit? We are a letting and management agent based in the heart of Canary Wharf that manage portfolios or individual residential properties on behalf of investors all over the world. Despite the fact that we're based in Canary Wharf, the properties that we manage are right the way across the UK. And we manage one for one client, and sometimes we manage 50 on behalf of a company. It's really eclectic. We built the online management system because a lot of our clients are living offshore in different time zones. In Asia and Africa are two areas where we're particularly strong. And for us, it helps us be transparent with our clients. It helps us show our clients how we're managing their properties. It helps us show our clients how we're looking after or allocating their rental income. And our day-to-day tasks for our clients, I guess, are finding tenants who will pay market rent or above, placing those tenants in a landlord's property, carrying out all of the necessary paperwork, making sure the property is in really great condition, collecting the rent from the tenant each month, paying it on to the landlord, perhaps conducting a renewal at the end of the tenancy agreement with a rental increase, if not finding a new tenant, and so the process goes on. And this online management system is our way of opening up the window to our landlords who are offshore and onshore about how we go about looking after their assets. So what we're looking at now is the home screen of the online management system, and the system can be accessed with a username and a password. What we see here is the front page of Liverpool 86 Limited. Now, Liverpool 86 Limited is a client of ours. It's a company that owns 4 properties. What we're able to see down the right-hand side of the page is some fairly high-level information about each property. So let's have a look at 12 Denison House. 12 Denison House is a 1-bedroom apartment. The rent was transferred on the 1st of May 2014. £1,205.53. The tenancy period is the 12th of November 2013 to the 11th of November 2014. Months to the end of this particular contract is 6. Now, this is a live system, so if we were to come back in a month, that would say months to the contract end 5. There was a break clause inserted into the contract, but the period where that break clause can be accessed has passed. The status is active. It means there's a tenant currently in the property. So on just a quick glance, a landlord can very quickly see key information about each one of his properties. Let's now click into a property. We'll use this one, 18 Times Square. So again, high-level information about 18 Times Square, the same information we've already seen, but this time, down the left-hand side of the page, we have the property documents. The first one here, which has already come up, is the terms and conditions. So these are the terms and conditions that the landlord would have signed off with Vanit. We click over here and it downloads in a PDF in the corner. You can open that up. And this is the terms and conditions that the landlord would have signed with us, with the fees and all of the services that we might do. It's there for the landlord to access should he want to check up on a particular clause. Likewise, we've got all of the tenancy agreements that have been created. So a landlord can click on that, open up a tenancy agreement from any tenancy that would have happened in that property. Again, all sort of the relevant clauses, who were the tenants, what rent were they paying, etc. And again, we can see that with pretty much every single piece of paper, every document that's ever been created. The midterm inspections, the inventories, the check-ins, the check-outs, the certificates, gas certificate, electricity certificate, deposit certificate, and the electricity performance certificate. We've also got all of the landlord's rental statements that ever got created for this property. So it's pretty much every single piece of paper that was created or received by us during the management of this property is logged, secure, online for our landlords to access whenever they want to see it. We also have, every time we go and re-let the property or do a midterm inspection, we take photos. These photos are uploaded onto the system as well for the landlord to access. It's linked through to a map, a satellite map or a map here. I think this is on Google Maps. So we can zoom out and see exactly, where in London, this one happens to be in London, that property is. What I've shown you so far, for me, we believe that this should be absolutely standard, and that every single agent that is letting and managing properties for their clients should have a system similar to this, and quite a few do. What I'm about to show you, I think, goes above and beyond, and we've co-created this with some of our larger landlords and created it with professionals in mind. We've spoken to fund managers of residential properties about how they go about managing, what do they look for, how do they do their jobs, and we've tried to distill some of that down to help what I would call perhaps more retail landlords like me, who have a couple of properties, or a landlord that has one property, or a guy that has 5 or 6. So the first thing which is quite special is this feature, the rental breakdown over time. Now, clicking on this, what we're able to see is the last 7 months financial performance of that property in a graph. So down here we've got a time axis, November, December, January, February, etc. And up here we have a monetary amount. So what we can see in November is that we collected £1,950 for that property, that the Vanit letting and management fees were £374, which is this dark portion of the bar here. And the light portion of the bar, £1,575, was what we paid to the landlord. Same again for December, for January, for February, and for March. These are all really, really normal months. And again, you can hover over one part of the bar and it tells you exactly what that is. We're looking at January at the minute. Down the left-hand side, we've got all of the statements, or all of the months. We can go into January, open it up. There's our rental statement. Rents received. By the looks of things, we've got 2 sharers in this property. So rent from one, rent from the other, total income received £1,950. There's Vanit's 16% fee, £312. Total payable to the landlord, £1,575. And as you can see, that correlates exactly to this figure here. Now, from a landlord's point of view, if I was to say to a landlord who doesn't have access to a system like this, how has your property performed over the last 7 months? Can you tell me what happened? Were there any months, did you get your rent paid each month? How much did you get? And, were there any events? Were there any maintenance? If you've got 4 or 5 properties, to be honest, even if you've only got 2 or even 1, you're going to have to look through, you're probably a very, very busy person, a very busy, probably successful professional to have a property portfolio, or even a single buy-to-let property. The best you're going to be able to do is to collect all of the statements that you hope your agent has sent you and go through each one by hand and just make sure that everything's running fairly smoothly. You're probably talking about a couple of hours work to do that. Here you can do it in a heartbeat. Let's have a look at this month, which is quite interesting. This is April. And in April, there's a maintenance spend here of £517. So let's have a look at April's statement. Here we go, April 2014. Clicking on this, we're able to see, again, there's our rental income, and here we go, a landlord renewal fee. So this particular landlord, his fees have dropped because it's a renewal, and he was paying us our full fee to begin with. That's a deal that we have with our landlords. This particular landlord, here we go, no hot water in the property, both immersions replaced, Absolute Trading Limited with a particular contractor, and the bill was £517.20. So again, we would have collected the rent. This would have been authorised with the landlord first. There's no way we would have paid that without getting authorisation from the landlord to begin with, and there probably was a conversation about this, and again, it's our responsibility to find the best quote possible from the most reliable supplier. Once again, we're able to see that in a graphical format. We're looking at the minute at quite an easy property, which I've deliberately shown one that's quite simple. Also within this portfolio, I can tell you there's one that's much more complicated, 12 Denison House. If we were to use the same feature here, there's a much more busy picture. Let's have a look at these 2 months in particular. So we've collected £1,408. We've taken our fee of £202. And what are these 2 blocks? We've got no light grey here, which means nothing was paid to the landlord. Well, we've got a ground rent bill of £350 and a service charge bill of £850. On this particular property, which is a leasehold, and as we do for most of our properties that are leasehold, our landlords instruct us to pay the ground rent and the service charge, which in some countries are called things like levies, on behalf, or rather to, the particular supplier, which is the freeholder and the managing agent. So again, we collect the rent, all the bills are sent to us, we disperse them accordingly. But we want our landlord to see that we've actually done that, and we want our landlords to feel comfortable that that's been taken care of. Now, why a landlord might ask, are you paying service charge here? You're also paying service charge here. There's another £75 payment. What's happened there? Well, I can tell you what happened, which was that there wasn't enough rent in this particular month to cover all of the ground rent and the service charge. So we negotiated with the managing agent, that's the supplier that you pay service charge to, that we would pay £850 in January and a further £75 in February. But it's all recorded and it's all really simple and easy for our landlords to see. And again, if you have 3 property, even 1 property, but let alone 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, to be able to pull out this kind of feature on every single property just makes your life a lot easier and hopefully builds your trust just that little bit more between you and your agent. There's another feature we have here which I feel is invaluable, especially to someone who has multiple properties. But that said, if you are a landlord who has a buy-to-let property in London, no matter where in the world you reside, you have to fill out, you have to file a tax return with HMRC in the UK. Even if your property is running at a loss, you have to fill out a tax return. Most of our landlords are aware of that, and we tell all of them. That can be quite difficult. Typically, if you need to file a tax return, there's a lot of data that you have to collate. And again, if you're working with a typical estate agent or letting and management agent in London, the best you're going to be able to do is go through 12-month statements manually and collate an awful lot of information. If you have 5 or 6 properties, then you can times the amount of time that it takes you to fulfill that task by 5 or 6. You could be talking 4, 5, 6 hours to do that. We have a financial reporting feature, which is on this page and can be accessed at the top of the screen. By using the same data entry points, the same line items that are in a tax return, total rents, other property income, ground rent, service charge and insurance, property repairs, maintenance and renewals, letting and management, agency, legal and other professional fees, we're able to pull this data out on behalf of all of our landlords. So our landlord can go into this page, through these tabs here, can click on either the entire portfolio, which I'll use to begin with, or they can do it property by property, enter a date range. Let's use the tax year as an example, because that's fairly typical. So let's go April the 5th, 2013 to April the 4th, 2014. Click on this tab, Update Report, and the system is now able to tell us that we had £49,000 worth of income across the portfolio, no other property income, ground rent, service charge and insurance of £4,207, property repairs, maintenance and renewals of £6,198, letting, management, agency, legal and other professional fees, £11,389, a profit of £27,000 and £27,669. There's also a pie chart at the bottom showing you how your rent has been distributed. Now, as a landlord who has several properties, to be able to pull that information out in a minute means that either A, you can fill out your tax return yourself, B, you could ask us to do it, or C, if you want to use an accountant to do it, providing an accountant with this clarity of information means that they should be charging you lower fees than they probably are. Not only can you do this by the whole portfolio, you can also pick an individual property if that's how your accountant wants it, pull out exactly the same information each way. You can download this as a PDF, or you can print the report and keep a hard copy for your files. We're constantly playing with this system, we're constantly updating it, and we're constantly getting brilliant feedback from our clients about features that they would like. And as an example of that, there's a new feature that we're building at the moment, which should be going live probably within a month or so, a mortgage interest feature. One of the key items that's missed off here, and one of the only things that we don't look after for our clients is, although we would if they asked us to, is to pay the mortgage payment on their behalf. And as those of you who are very ingrained in the residential property industry will know, your mortgage interest on a buy-to-let property is tax deductible. So soon as you enter into each property, the system will say, would you like to enter your loan amount? You would enter the amount of the loan as far as you can remember it, plus your interest rate. The system will remember that and will add that data accordingly. So each property that you look at, it will also include the mortgage interest that was due for that particular month. And most importantly, when you come to your end of year statement or when you're choosing any period, because this doesn't have to be for the year, you know, these two tabs here, from and to, it could be for a month or 2 months. It will also include the portion that you would have paid as mortgage interest. So that's really it for today. There's probably quite a bit more to the system than that, but I think these are the high-level features that most of our landlords like to use. I've really enjoyed showing this to you. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to call us. As I said, we're in London in the United Kingdom. The best contact number for us is +44 207 042 0033. I'd be delighted to receive any feedback myself directly on the system, because it's, as you can probably hear from the tone of my voice, it's something I take a lot of pride in. And my email address is joel, Joel, @vanet, vanet.uk.com. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.